You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. We're live on 99.5 ESPN Radio, Emporia's home for sports. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all at Drew Duncan 83. Additionally, you can call in at 620-343-6143. That's 620-343-6143. Give it to you one more time. That's 620-343-6143. It's Wired Wednesday, but it's definitely a wet Wednesday as well. Like, real serious about that. Man, rainy. What's going on? Don't forget, a little bit later on for Wired Wednesday, we're going to be having Olpe coach on here, Eric True, and he is going to have his player of the week, Carter Cox. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, I want to be able to get to this. Condoleezza Rice, here is a portion of her presser. This, by the way, by CBS Sports. Here we go.
First group of recommendations focuses on creating realistic pathways for student-athlete success. First, we must separate the college track from the professional track by ending one and done. We call on the NBA and the NBPA, who exclusively have power here, to once again make 18-year-olds eligible for the NBA draft so that high school players who are drafted may proceed directly to the NBA. Should the NBA and the NBPA decide not to do so, the Commission will reconvene and consider other measures, including freshman ineligibility and or the lockup of scholarships for a specific period of time. Elite high school players with NBA prospects and no interest in a college degree should not be forced to attend college, often for less than a year. The one-and-done regime may have provided some benefits for the NBA and even for the NCAA at some time in the past. But the downsides now outweigh the benefits. These uniquely talented elite players are the focus of agents and apparel companies and investment advisors and college coaches and others who seek to profit from their skills.
All right. So here's the deal. There's a lot of things that I couldn't agree with more with Condoleezza Rice. Okay. And just to kind of backtrack really quick here, the reason why Condoleezza Rice is in front of this committee right now, which, by the way, this video also featured Grant Hill and David Robinson. And as a quick little side note, David Robinson on April the 24th, yesterday, in 1999, dropped 71 points in the last game of the season. Also had 14 rebounds and 9 assists, if I remember correctly, in that game. So there's that. Let's get that out of the way. Here's the deal. Back in September, October, there were findings. 10 coaches were named initially. Rick Pitino at Louisville was one. You had coaches from Arizona. And, of course, allegedly, there was an Adidas person that was named as well as for bribery, money laundering, and, basically paying kids to play and swayed them to go to certain universities and play. Condoleezza Rice spoke for far longer than a minute and 20 today, and I want to kind of give you a basic breakdown of what was said here. She emphasized the term on many occasions throughout the time that she was on this press release today about the exceptional basketball athlete. The key word there is exceptional. In other words, with that word and that word alone, we know what she's talking about. We are talking about the kid that could come right out of high school, i.e. LeBron James, i.e. Kobe Bryant, and be good enough to already be in the NBA. One of the things that Condoleezza made mention of as well through her presser was, hey, look, the deal is people are taking advantage of these kids And it's wrong. She made mention that she believes that they should begin to look at having agents for these kids so that way they can make informed decisions. She looked at having outside deals that these kids should be able to get. And basically, let's be honest, the companies, whether it's Adidas or Nike or Under Armour or whomever, that make the apparel for these universities and athletes, they pay their coaches at these universities a very handsome salary to put their kids in these brands, period. And it is an ongoing deal, and it has been an ongoing deal for a long time. I mean, come on, there was a movie that came out in the early 90s with Shaq and Penny Hardaway and Nick Nolte. It was called Blue Chips, and it was all about this exact scenario. And the one and done, we all know, is an extreme joke in basketball. Ben Simmons dropped as soon as the tournament was over. When they got eliminated, he didn't even bother with finishing out his school year. You know why? Because he was going to the NBA, and he was going to focus on getting his body ready for the NBA. He never wanted to be in college in the first place. And one of the things that she made mention of was, look, one of these students is taking away an education that somebody else's home is less fortunate in, where somebody really wants to be there. And I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with 95% of what Condoleezza Rice stood up and talked about today. Because let's be very honest about this entire scenario. And I have brought this up a couple of times since I've been on this station, but I brought it up several times before I got here. And I'm going to be very brief and quick when I say, I believe that student athletes should get paid to play, and that's one of the things that she left out. And that really bothered me. It bothered me because we know what's going to happen. We know that these kids are never going to get what they're due, and that is money. They put in the same amount of work that any professional athlete does. And you mean to tell me they weren't getting paid? I don't understand the logic. When I was in college, there was a radio station that was considering me for an internship while I was in school for journalism. And they told me, hey, if you're here, we'll pay you. Now, why is it I can get paid, but a student athlete can't? I'm interning for the career field that I want to be in. And by the way, I'm one of what? I think it's 15% of kids that go to school for what they want to be in and then actually get to be in that field. So I say that because it only proves even further that if they continue to view college athletes as being in an internship of sorts, then they know the percentages are extremely low. There's over 14,000 kids in Division I college football alone. There's only 397 players in the NFL officially listed on rosters week in and week out. 397 at the max. Just let that sink in for a moment. I know a lot of people like to ask the question, where is this money going to come from? Well, you do it like you do everything else. You get sponsorship for it. You get donations for it. You know, when Alabama wins a national title, they don't just win it for Alabama. They win it for the SEC conference. And that money gets trickled down. The money will be there. Where does the money come for anything? Where does the money come at your job? How do you get paid? All you know is you cash a check every single week. Where that money comes from really isn't all that important to you, is it? As long as you're getting your due for the work that you put in. I think it was Richard Sherman who said, because there was a questionnaire that came out about a week and a half ago, about a year and a half ago. And Richard Sherman was asked, what's one of the things that you would like to see change about the game of football? And he said, well, coming from a college kid, I wish that somebody would follow us around for a couple of weeks and find out exactly what we go through. And I think that's a very fair statement. And I think it's a very fair assessment. And by the way, I've seen reports where they have called Condoleezza Rice's presser meaningless. It is far from that. She was very direct when she said, if you choose not to listen to our recommendations, then we will reconvene and we will begin talking about options such as locking down scholarships for certain universities. As in, you're not going to get scholarships for basketball if you don't like what we're doing. She talked about being more transparent with your finances. Couldn't agree more. When you report to the federal government about your finances, you need to be upfront and honest about where that money is going. Because if you're going to be slick, you're going to get caught. If you don't believe me, ask SMU, Southern Methodist. We've all seen that that documentary 30 for 30 on ESPN. If you haven't, I highly recommend that you watch it. It is called The Pony Excess. Also, another very good documentary to watch would be Schooled, The Price of College Athletics. The very real reality of this entire situation is that a lot of these kids are not allowed to work. People say, well, they could get a job. They're not allowed to work. Most of the time, they sign contracts that mandate that they are not allowed to find jobs. Now, you can ask Maurice Claret, and he would tell you that a lot of people just looked the other way. And they did. And it was all fun and games until it all came out of the woodwork. I mean, there have been rumors about people saying, well, you know, I don't even have to go to class half the time. And it's simply because they have twins, they have doubles, they have people that look like me that go and attend classes for me. That's insane to think about. I don't really get it. I don't get why we think that these college kids should not be paid for the kind of work that they put in. I was having a discussion earlier today. He brought up sequestrial. See, and that's another go-to, isn't it? What about the lacrosse player? Well, it's the same that it is at any job. You see, college is supposed to be about life lessons. So it's the same that it is at any job. I get paid differently from you. You get paid differently from me. That's all there is to it. Because you and I are in different positions. We may work for the same company, but we get paid differently. And what do we get paid on? It's based on a lot of different things. Experience, what we mean to the position, what we mean to our companies, those kinds of things. And I just don't understand, why is it that we consistently think that college kids are getting this phenomenal opportunity, which, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're not, but let's be honest. I think it was Michigan that played 15 games in 22 days over this past basketball season. What was more important, good grades or winning those games, especially beating their rival Michigan State, who in the tournament, a lot of people, including myself, took them to go to the Final Four because they've had great success in the tournament. And so we expect them to go deep every single year. That's why. It's a given with their head coach. It's a given with their program. That's the way that we feel about it. You see, the fact of the matter is that this money will come from somewhere, because that money came from somewhere that they used to bribe those kids with. So instead of using that money for bribery, we can use it to dump into a fund that is specifically for these kids, so that way they can be paid. And people always say, well, you're not going to be able to pay people the same amount of money. It's not going to be fair. Who said life was fair? Nobody said life was fair. And college is supposed to be the actual lesson about that life is never fair. We're all tired in college. We're all stretched thin in college. Every one of us that ever attended knows what it's like to be in school. We're broke. We're tired. We're hungry. That's the way that it is. It's kind of a rite of passage. We're all trying to get to the next level in our lives. And I just think that it's a good lesson to learn right away because, in the NFL, you only get paid during the regular season. Did you know that? You don't get paid when the playoffs go on. Those guys are working for free at that point because the objective and the idea is, look, we're paying you handsomely. There's no reason why come the postseason you shouldn't have a little nest egg. There's no reason why in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and August, you shouldn't have had a nest egg. There's no reason why you shouldn't have. I gave you millions of dollars. You should be financially ready to go and equipped to handle that downtime. Because, see, and the reason why they do that, and it's justified as much as I hate to say it, is because the regular season is a given, whereas the postseason is not necessarily a given. It's what you want. You want to go to the Super Bowl. You want to be in the playoffs. You want to win those games. You want to get that bonus money. But that doesn't mean that you'll be there. Things happen. Being an NFL athlete is one of the few jobs that I know of that while you can't play because you're hurt or whatever the case may be, you still get a paycheck. How many of us, if we miss a day of work, we don't get a paycheck? Not everybody's on a salary. And people that are on salaries know that you are asked to go above and beyond and do more and more and more because you're on a salary. So it's just how much more work can we get out of you? We know that feeling. Look, here's the bottom line. Okay. The bottom line is two things. Number one, I agree with Condoleezza Rice. The one and done should be gone. These kids should be able to talk to agents. They should be able to make informed decisions because these people are surrounding these kids anyways. Whether you think they are or they are not, they are. And they are foaming at the mouth. They need to start making informed decisions. I also agree with Condoleezza Rice that scholarships should be taken away if people don't want to adhere to this. And I agree that it has benefited many people, but the least beneficiary has been the kids. Because the life lesson they have been taught is I can do literally just enough to get by for a semester basically while I'm in college. And then after that, I can just leave. What kind of lesson, what kind of signal does that send? That what I can do physically on a basketball court means actually more than this education that you claim that I am getting. Think about that for a moment. And I also do believe that college kids should get paid. I just, if you disagree with me, that's fine. You can call in 620-343-6143 at 620-343-6143. If you disagree with me, that's okay. You probably will not change my mind, but it's okay to disagree with me. 620-343-6143. Give it to you one more time, 620-343-6143. Additionally, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. I want to hear what you think about this. We have a lot more to get to. It is Wired Wednesday. We've got NFL draft to talk about. We've got Kansas City Royal baseball to talk about. Salvi Perez made a little bit of a difference, I think, for the Royals, but ultimately not enough. We're going to be discussing the Royals as well. We're going to be talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're back on tonight, and they are going to try and avoid elimination. We'll be discussing that as well. 620-343-6143 is the number. We'll be back right after this. Don't you dare touch that dial.